Everything explained in this video is summarized from the CoinMarketCap. And also, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for future XRP news and some other cryptocurrency news in general. Now, take a look at this new development on the SEC front. A new request has been submitted to the court following the conclusion of the lengthy legal struggle between Ripple and the SEC, which had been going on for a month. The ruling was made that XRP trading on exchanges was allowed. Ripple was also fined $125 million because the SEC had demanded a penalty of $2 billion. Ripple and the cryptocurrency market were pleased with the $125 million fine. Nevertheless, the parties reached an agreement to delay the payment of the $120 million fine. Yesterday, Ripple submitted a petition to the Southern District Court of New York seeking that the payment of a fine over $125 million be postponed. Within the petition, the legal team representing Ripple suggested that 111 of the penalty amount, which is about $139 million, be placed into a bank account either before the end of the appeal term or within 30 days after the appeal is concluded. While the Securities and Exchange Commission granted the request for a postponement, Ripple's action was seen as an appeal of the judgment made by the SEC. The fact that Ripple decided to postpone payment of the penalty rather than pay the penalty itself, as well as the fact that the SEC allowed the postponement, was interpreted as a sign that the SEC was still considering the option of appealing the decision and that the legal process was not yet complete. It is possible that Ripple sentencing could be postponed if the court gives its formal consent to do so. In the absence of approval from Judge Analista Torres, the postponement will not be considered authentic. When asked about the court's verdict, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse referred to it as a victory for Ripple. A delay in the payment of a fine of $125 million was requested by Ripple, and the SEC agreed to the circumstances that were suggested. This has led to discussion about the possibility of an appeal being filed. As a result of the legal events, the price of XRP has not been significantly affected, and it continues to trade at approximately 55 cents. The most recent information, at the beginning of August, a significant milestone was reached in the ongoing legal struggle between Ripple and the Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States. In the past, Judge Torres issued an order that required the corporation to pay a fine of $125 million for breaking several securities regulations. This amount was a fraction of the initial demand made by the regulator, which was for $2 billion. It seems that a few of Ripple's leaders, including Chief Legal Officer Stuart Alderodi and Chief Executive Officer Brian Garlinghouse, were satisfied with the judgment made by the magistrates. They pledged to comply with the regulations and pay the amount in cash from the company's balance sheet. The company and the agency have not commented on the topic, even though several users of X have anticipated that the company may settle with the agency as soon as this week. The legal team representing Ripple has only lately submitted a new motion in which they ask for a stay on the monetary element of the judgment that was entered by the court 1 month ago. In the letter, the business disclosed that the Securities and Exchange Commission had agreed with the proposed terms and the deferral of the payment, which was scheduled to be made on September 6th. Ripple's legal team proposed that 111 of the whole amount, which is approximately $138 million, be transferred to the bank account of the legal team as a form of security. It has been stated that the monies will remain in the account until 30 days after the deadline for filing an appeal has passed. Please keep in mind that the verdict can be challenged by both parties until the beginning of October. By the movie, one of Ripple's attorneys, Kellogg Hansen, will make certain that the cash remains in the account until it is either released by a court order or through an agreement between both parties. Should the Court of Appeals vacate or modify the judgment, the parties will attempt in good faith to reach an agreement about the appropriate treatment of the fund and will submit to the court any disputes they cannot resolve, the letter states. The judges will ultimately decide whether or not to vacate or modify the judgment. Several individuals in the business were under the impression that this action would be a forerunner to an appeal that could be filed by the SEC. Fred Rispoli, an attorney from the United States, is one of the individuals who agrees with this idea. He stated that going through all this effort with establishing a trust for the funds boosts chances of an appeal IMO. In the end, however, this is simply the most predictable move for the SEC to buy time until the deadline to appeal on October 7th. Potential examples of cross-appeal, former attorneys for the Securities and Exchange Commission, such as James Farrell and Mark Fagel, have voiced optimism that the SEC may be able to file an appeal before the deadline of 60 days, which would expire at the beginning of October. On the other hand, to contest the verdict more thoroughly, Ripple would be required to submit a cross appeal to the Second Circuit Court. If Ripple decides not to file a cross appeal, it will effectively accept the $125 million penalty without any further dispute, which will restrict the court's capacity to address additional issues. In the wake of the announcement of the stay requests, Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderoty, continues to be optimistic that an appeal will not dramatically change the outcome of the case. Using an appeal, he believes the Securities and Exchange Commission has a 10% chance of overturning the verdict. There's been a significant impact on the price of XRP as a result of the uncertainty surrounding the Ripple SEC case. The coin has lost all of its recent gains. The current price of XRP is 55 cents, and the amount of transactions has decreased by 15 over the last 24 hours. There's also been a decrease of 0.67 in open interest in XRP futures, which is a reflection of the decreasing interest from derivatives traders. Within the next few months, Ripple and the SEC will need to decide on their legal options. The cryptocurrency industry might be on edge if the appeal is allowed to proceed. Holders of XRP are keeping an eye out for resolution that might have an impact on the cryptocurrency market. There is a lack of clarity within the XRP community over whether or not the top regulator would appeal the partial success that occurred on August 7th. They have until October 6th to fight the verdict. Even though Ripple and the XRP community have achieved some success in their conflict with the SEC, it is possible that the drama will not end soon. It is possible that tensions could escalate once again as the deadline for the SEC to appeal draws near. Will the situation become more intense? Continue reading to find out more. Attorney Jeremy Hogan hypothesized in a recent post on X that the Securities and Exchange Commission might not have made up its mind about whether or not to appeal the Ripple litigation. It was brought to Hogan's attention that the process of submitting a notice of appeal is a simple and effective one that takes only 15 minutes to complete. The Securities and Exchange Commission would have 70 days to submit the actual brief after the notice is filed. Hogan thinks that the Securities and Exchange Commission would not postpone filing if they had already chosen to appeal the verdict, especially because the ruling that is currently in effect is not beneficial to their viewpoint. The CC and Ripple have requested a stay on the monetary judgment. While this is going on, Ripple and the SEC have submitted a combined plea to the court for a stay of the monetary element of the judgment, which is worth $125 million. This motion comes only a few days before the deadline of September 6th for Ripple to pay the penalty that Judge Alyssa Torres has mandated. Even though Ripple had previously stated that it had no intention of filing an appeal, this current action shows that the business may be reevaluating its strategy. If the stay is granted, the payment will be put on hold, providing both parties with additional time to prepare for the possibility of an appeal.